You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Red Moon Podcast in 2023, live every Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media networks. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian,
Vanilla Steam, and
Happy Brew Year.
Brew Year. Oh, he's opened it. Oh, hey, it didn't fizz. Oh, there it goes. It's starting
Not
to.
as bad. A little bit.
Say,
not much.
That's not bad.
Slightly.
That wasn't bad at all. How are y'all feeling in this new year? I'm not feeling too great. I had to take care of something today.
Oh,
had
my
to call
goodness.
into work. Wonderful 2023 started off with a bang. I had to
Whose fault was that?
take a personal day to take care of some leaks from our heavy storm last night. That was fun.
Brandon had
Yeah.
some leaks.
You
His
said
depends didn't hold
personal
up.
day and leaks, and I was thinking, oh,
Yeah,
we're not even
his
at that
Depends.
age yet.
It
Well,
it didn't hold.
You know, the flu hits you just right. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
It can unleash a lot of hell.
I've never been hit by the flu.
But no, I had a baseball-sized spot on my kitchen, right. I'm sitting here. I was doing my walk, because Tuesdays are my rest day, so I got to get at least my rings closed. And I sit here and I'm walking back and forth in the kitchen, and I'm like, wait a sec, that wasn't there before.
Oh, no.
Oh no! And so I had to do some investigating. And of course, I don't have a freaking ladder. I had to go borrow the ladder from my parents to get up in the attic. I never get up
you a
there.
ladder.
Man, I'm telling you,
That's how my year ended.
adulting. Oh wait, it
'Cause all
was
that snow
leaks.
and I sent you all the
Oh,
pic.
yeah, that's right.
So, but luckily mine was just where someone had something installed on the roof that they had just, I guess, put some caulk over to seal, and it's come off, so then the
Yeah.
water was getting in there. But
Well, thankfully mine was not too bad. My roof was replaced actually under a year ago. But I contacted the company I got. They're coming out tomorrow to fix it. So that's good news. I don't even have to be here, so I can go back to work.
Good, yeah.
Heck yeah.
They'll be here. I mean, but hey, you know, we're moving and a shaking in 2023 already.
I know.
It's insane.
It's insane.
Just crazy and nuts.
Insane.
In the membrane. I knew it. No, we got a packed show. We got another
got a
great
good show.
review. One that we said we were going to review like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't put it in theaters, so finally we got a screener and we were able to watch it through streaming, and then they finally put it in our theater. So
Imagine that.
I was like, wow.
Well, and then they took out another big one because it's not a big one. Apparently, Babylon's not even showing right now at AMC.
that's
Or there's-
sure?
Oh, I thought that's what you texted.
No,
I think it is.
No,
Still.
they don't have any showings for anything other than Avatar or Megan right now, because Avatar obviously is the big money maker, so they have the screenings for it lined
We're
up.
going to talk
And then
about that too
Megan's
later.
the new release, so they just don't have the screenings yet for anything this weekend except for those
Oh,
two movies.
Yeah.
It just has yet
Yeah,
to come.
yeah.
Yet to come. So we're maybe, it depends. It depends.
I think it's it was showing last weekend. I'm sure it still is.
We may be, well, it would only be like 2 weeks old at this point.
Yeah,
Because it
yeah.
released.
I'm sure
New
AMC
Year's
hasn't.
weekend?
They don't have a list of any showings other than Avatar 2 and Megan.
But we are looking for, we're going to be doing Babylon next week.
Babylonian.
And then we are going to do Megan. We're going to do that. So Neil, just watch out.
Yeah.
Apparently Megans are crazy.
Yeah.
That's what this movie has shown us in the trailer.
And we're going to see. It depends on, I know we try to do the Best Picture noms when those are announced, but that's not coming till the end of this month. So
True. We're keeping tabs. We think we might have.
we've got a good chunk of them
Yeah.
already as far as what we're predicting to be nominated. There's a good amount kind of already. So
Obviously, if we have a slew that we've got to run through,
We will.
you know,
we'll get it done.
we'll
There's
see
not
which ones
very
are worthwhile.
There's not very many releases until mid-February. After mid-February, there's tons of releases
Yeah.
every week, but
It's
we kind of
insane.
got to get there first. So
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
the one we're about to review is got Oscar buzz.
it does. I think it will get a nomination.
The question is would we nominate? That's the question.
That is, and I mean, they can hear. This is finally, if we beat around the bush, the Fabelmans. So let's listen to that. With the holidays now over and Oscar season ominously looming over the horizon, we have finally managed to see one of the most talked about films amongst critics and Academy members. Yes, Spielberg's magnum opus, the film critics have called his most emotional movie to date, The Fabelmans, a fictitious tale based on Spielberg's own childhood. Starring Gabriel LaBelle as Sammy Fabelman, the stand-in for young Spielberg, the film works as a coming-of-age style film while highlighting Sammy's growing interest in filmmaking, while navigating the pains of growing up and his parents' failing marriage. While this is all a fictionalized telling, Spielberg himself has been openly vocal about both his love of filmmaking and his parents' divorce enough to know the film is an accurate portrayal of the director's perception of his childhood and his feelings on both matters. Performances from LaBelle, with Paul Dano and Michelle Williams portraying Bert and Mitzi Fabelman, the stand-ins for Spielberg's parents, are excellent, with the story, cinematography, and care given to the art and science of filmmaking present on screen. It's clear to see how much Spielberg does love being a director. All of this I loved, but there are some gripes as well. As a coming-of-age story, the film just felt middling. It's not bad. We have stereotypical bullies and love interest, and Sammy learning of and learning to deal with his mother's infidelity. But his coming to terms with these aspects of his life just didn't provide the emotional punch of relatability Spielberg's best films have. Even dialogue comes off a bit trite. Or, if this is the way his family really did behave and talk, then perhaps it's not unbelievable dialogue that's the issue, but a sign of just how disconnected white-collar Hollywood truly is from the average Joe. As The Fabelmans just never felt real to me outside of the Hollywood ideal of live however makes you happy. Which leads to the gripes I also have about some of the moral takeaways from the film and the blame Sammy places on certain figures while not holding others accountable. And while these may be true to Spielberg's own opinions of his parents, the film itself doesn't do enough for me to feel the characters in it have justifiably reached the same conclusion. All in all, The Fabelmans is a well-made love letter to Spielberg's childhood and love of the craft, and also perhaps a sort of therapy for him as well. But it's not his magnum opus, and for me, is far from his most emotional film to date. There is certainly much about it that's well done, but nothing I haven't seen before. I give The Fabelmans 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's another one that...
Wow. We are not erring on the side of the critics here.
Well, this is another one I know we're kind of in the minority on. Because fans like The Fabelmans too. And we did Glass Onion and now this, where critics and audiences both like both of these movies. And I understand why average audiences would like this. There's nothing really deeply wrong with the movie. It's well made. I love all the aspects of filmmaking that he does showcase. I just had problems with one, the pacing. I don't think it needed to be 2.5 hours long.
True.
It was a little too long for me. Two, some of the moral conclusions that Spielberg kind of leads you to, that the film comes to, I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I know he has stated personally that he had blamed his father for the divorce and everything, and there's aspects of that I do agree with, as far as like the father not being there and not fighting for the family. But then it almost feels like he's completely like taken the blame off of the mother.
Yes.
And that's something I completely disagree with, because she deserves blame too.
Both were at fault.
And it was kind of this idea that, well, as long as you're doing what makes you happy, that's what's important, and you need to pursue that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but you're also talking about the dissolution of a family, tearing this family apart. And it's like, well, that's okay because she's doing what makes her happy, and she's this free spirit. And I'm like, no, I don't agree with that.
But I mean, on the flip side of that, though, and this is kind of where I agree with you. I had issues with the argument they were trying to draw there. Is the dad, for him, what made him happy was his work and was what he was trying to create.
So technically, he should have been in the right
So
too.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he was following his heart in that regard.
If you were following that logic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think if you played it evenly handed, as both were mistaken and both were wrong, because they followed their passions instead of relying on the marriage.
And I do think both were wrong in different instances for different things. And there was also just...
And I didn't mean to interrupt Sean there.
Oh, yeah,
If you want to finish.
No. I was just going to finish by saying that I felt like I had a hard time understanding. I know opposites attract and that kind of thing, but I had a hard time understanding that a woman like her, she was artsy, she was very outgoing and passionate about a lot of creativity and art, and he was the opposite. He was kind of reclusive and wrapped up in his work and kind of a computer nerd. And it's like, how did these two get together? And not only that, but did they really think that those passions wouldn't collide at some point? I kind of feel like you got this far into your marriage and decide to just let it go because of passions now, and it's like you didn't notice that in the beginning or when you met each other that this is who you were marrying. That's kind of
4 kids in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess I'm coming at it from the aspect of, to me, once you take those vows, they're forever.
Right.
There
And
was no fighting for each other
yeah,
at all.
there's a lot of things that you
And
can
honestly,
overcome in a marriage.
That alone, though, that could have been a crucial plot point that I think would have. Again, it's hard to critique something that I know is semi-autobiographical, biographical.
I mean, it's fictitious,
from,
but it is based on his
right.
actual childhood.
And he's come out and said so many of the things that you may think are crazy and wouldn't have happened in the film are very much based in reality.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, but if you're making a thematic, I mean, it's very poignant in certain parts of even him as a child growing up into the love of film and knowing he always wanted to do it. And of course, those, for me as a filmmaker, touched me deeply because I'm sitting here thinking, this is exactly the love that I have for the same craft. And to see him going through the painstaking process of getting the materials and cutting the film and labeling them. And
all of that
I freaking
was brilliant.
loved that.
That was
I
well
loved
done.
all of that. But it's like, for that to also, in conjunction, be told along the story of the breakdown of the family or what happens with the mom and the dad, I just felt like, too many things were kind of left unspoken or unstated thematically.
Yes.
And for a plot that for it to be so heavily focused on the family, I didn't think that came to a crescendo or a conclusion that I was happy with. And also, I hate to say it, but look, Spielberg is somebody who has defined an era and who no doubt is going to go down in the history books as definitely a mainstay director in our culture and has shaped the form of filmmaking by all means. He's up on the Mount Rushmore of filmmakers, no doubt. However, with that being said, I felt like some parts of this in him opening up and telling his childhood, even though it may be raw and authentic for him, I was like, it kind of bastardizes some of the messages and things he carried in other films. Yeah. And he may write that off and say, well, those are other stories in other families. This is real. But it's like, okay, but some of the highlights in those films and some of the moral messages and the weight that those films carry, whether it be in Close Encounters, where there's a juxtaposition of a dad who's obsessed to the point of it almost breaking down his family and him choosing, he pretty much clearly points out, like, no, the dad made the wrong choice in that movie.
Yeah.
I think there's, and then you have the whole E.T. Scenario with that family and how strong the family unit is there.
I was actually going to bring up E.T. Because this movie does contrast to me compared to his movies from the 80s and 90s in both of its morals and in the way it tries to connect to audiences. Because very early on, watching them and this family and this whole white collar, like, did you hear the way that minor key with the arpeggio effects? And, and it's not that I have a problem with that in and of itself, because I mean, I like music. I don't know enough about music in that way, but it just didn't feel relatable, even with them being, a little bit more white collar. I mean, I've seen plenty of other movies about white collar people that I still was able to relate to, but I'm listening to this dialogue from this family that may be authentic because it was Spielberg's family, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this here is the disconnect in Hollywood, because you go back to E.T. and you see that family, and I always think of the scene where Elliot calls his brother penis breath and the mom gets upset, but she has that little chuckle because it's kind of this anxious chuckle at the same time.
It's funny.
Like, it's funny, but
Kids saying the darndest
she's
things.
also reprimanding him, and it's this laugh like, this isn't right. I'm getting aggravated with you, but it is funny.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where just that scene alone was so relatable. The dialogue's so well done. And I'm sitting here thinking of that scene compared to his mom and dad talking about, like I said, arpeggios and this and that. And I'm just like, this is so odd. Like, is this what Hollywood thinks like people are like now?
Well, it seemed to take a back seat to, well, I don't want to say back seat. It just didn't seem as refined as I feel like certain things that he's done before in the past. And this has been my problem with Spielberg in the last 10 years. Honestly, last 20.
Yeah.
Because you look at things like Lincoln was a fine movie, but I've even heard of people saying that, it's kind of boring in parts. So be it.
It doesn't stand up to like Schindler's List or Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Right. And then you look at BFG, which I know is a kid's film. It's a boring kid's film. There's just so many things that I've seen in his more recent projects. Bridge of Spies is forgettable. War Horse is god-awful.
Yeah, it's a terrible movie.
But it's like, there's just so much of what I feel like is Spielberg, kind of what we've jokingly talked about with other directors becoming an imitation of themselves, and Tim Burton, for instance. And it's like, in an essence, they kind of lose their way of what they originally did do with film that was not only so transformative, but again, raw and authentic to what they were bringing to the screen. And I struggled with, after seeing this film, if it was one of those movies where I was like, okay, so is most of what I've seen from Spielberg in the past just a lie, or not a lie, but him just fabricating what he thought Americana was, an American family and culture, and just inculcating that into, his films? Or was it now him kind of coming clean and being like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just that kind of, 12th hour, like, oh, by the way, this is the real truth. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you just kind of flipped on a dime on me, and now you're pushing this garbage. Like, there was just nothing edifying by the end other than his love of film and him striving to do what he wanted. You kind of see a little, a conclusion with him and his dad, his dad coming to him and saying, kind of seeing that raw emotion pour out of him of seeing his mom with Benny, their uncle. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so he is torn apart, and he's like, you know what, son? No, you do what you're passionate about. You do what you love. And then that whole scene with his uncle that I actually enjoyed, but he's sitting there and he's like, or not his uncle, it's the mom's uncle. Yeah. I forget the guy's, he plays in Independence Day. I forget the actor's name. But he's like, family, your heart tears apart. And it's just like, okay, so it's like a one or off. It's a one or the other. Yeah, you can't have both. Yeah. And I just thought, okay, that's a little bit of a jaded message, because we know Spielberg is married. He does have kids. Yeah. I mean, I know he's kept that part of his life private. Maybe he's admitting
that he just doesn't give a crap about them.
Yeah.
Well, or maybe
he's James Cameron. I just not bothered around for my kids, so I have no say so in how they're raised.
An issue that I found with the film by the end of the film was I kept waiting for, okay, where's if you don't know Steven Spielberg, if you don't know how he got his start, Hogan's Hero, if you don't know all of that, then I don't feel like this movie really gives you any inkling that this is who the film is about. And that was the issue that I had with it. I kept waiting for where's the thing that's going to really stick out, that's going to pinpoint this as Steven Spielberg in his early life. Like, I did not ever find that in the film.
And I think that was intentional, though.
Well, it may have been, but at the same, you could have called the movie The Spielbergs, and that's exactly what it would have been. Mm-hmm. And that's by the end of the film, it pretty much sums up my thoughts on it. At the end of the film, there's a part where he sits down with Ford and he says, look at those two paintings right there. One, the horizon is up at the top, and one, the horizon is down at the bottom. If the horizon's at the top or at the bottom, it's interesting. If the horizon's in the middle, it's boring and it's a piece of garbage. Yeah. And I kept thinking to myself as the credits rolled, where was the horizon in this film? The horizon in this film was in the middle for me. Mm-hmm. It was mediocre at best. There was no horizon at the top that really drew me into the rest of the scene, or the horizon at the bottom that leads you to look at the rest of the scene. I looked at the middle the whole time because that's where it was. It was just mediocre at best. It was bland. It was flat. It was boring. And I will say the acting was very good. The part that I enjoyed the most was the scene with him in the hallway with the bully at the end.
Yeah, I did like that.
And I was just like, that was real. That was raw. Like, I can see that really happening.
Agreed.
And I felt like that was nailed. But then there was so many other parts of the film that I felt like were misses. The part where they're camping and the mom starts dancing. And for a moment there, the dad felt like he was uncomfortable with this because you can see through her dress. But then then there's this moment where he tried to captured the dad understanding, well, that's what I fell in love with. I fell in love with her spontaneity and her artistic. And so he says, no, get the camera and film it.
Right.
And so I felt like he was trying, and it showed the dad really trying. Like, you say that he didn't put up much of a fight, but I felt like, yeah, he didn't fight, but in the film, the dad understood what he fell in love with and why he loved her, and he was letting her be who she wanted to be. He wasn't saying, get back in your tent, we can see through your dress. Like, he embraced it. He didn't want to at first, but then he does. And then by the end of the film, it's like, no, he was at fault. He was a bad father. He didn't give in to his son's passions and his creativity. He was never home. He moved his family all across the country to chase this dream, and blew his marriage and blew his family. And I'm like, I just didn't see that.
No.
Well, and I also, I mean, I did understand that part of it in terms of the dad. You know, he was always running. She even brings up the point. She's like, I never get to fight with him. He never puts up a fight. Like, he always cowers, or he goes out and buys me a nice dress. And I did understand her struggle in that, but I also felt like in the same way he kept doing those things, she did the same in terms of giving up. I just felt like by the end of the film, while you see kind of a glaring like instance of both of their problems and issues, he kind of, whether he intended to or not, he sides with the mom. It's like she gets to go off and be happy with Benny over here, and everything seems peachy keen, and she gets the life she wants, and his dad's in love with his work, quote unquote, but he's now alone in this apartment by himself. But and it didn't really explain that either. It's like, okay, obviously he goes to stay with his father. He's with him. So it's almost like he kind of pities his dad to the point of, oh, well, I want to be there for him because he doesn't have anybody. Yeah. And I don't know if they clearly pointed out when he sees the picture of like the 3 other kids, with, visiting the mom.
Right.
I wasn't sure. It's like, okay, are they living there or are they just visiting? Yeah. Or is Sammy living with his dad? There were just things that for the focus of the family to be so integral to the storyline and for it to be a personal narrative of Steven Spielberg, I just felt like from the very get-go, I absolutely loved the dynamic, and it fell apart by the end because I didn't know what I was watching. Am I watching a kid, fall in love with filmmaking, and this is the career he wants to achieve and ascertain? Or is it, the breakdown of this family, and yet, everything ends up hunky-dory, and everybody's okay in the end? I just felt like it was there was too many left unanswered questions. And you could sit there and say, oh, well, life is messy and there's not always answers. But there just wasn't enough there from both of those storylines that by the end, I felt satisfied.
Even the life is messy theme would have been fine if they had played that, but they didn't, because they really played the whole, like, you got to chase what you love, and that's why it's okay for these people to go their separate ways. They didn't even touch on the idea of, some times life is messy and there are no answers. They didn't even go that route.
Yeah. He chose which answer he was choosing.
Yeah. And then the only other thing that really irked me, and again, it doesn't have to be, but the fact that they bring it up so much is why it bothers me, is for someone like Spielberg, who is Jewish, who has built a career about the fact that what has happened to the Jewish people had such an impact on him. I really felt like
he's made the single
he
most
made Schindler's List.
Yes,
he's produced movies. In fact, the movie I kept thinking of, because he produced both Prince of Egypt and the original An American Tale about, and that whole movie's about Russian mice who are Jewish that come to America, which is
because there's no cats in America.
Yeah, exactly. But this movie, of course, is about Russian Jewish family. Like, their family has that heritage, which is where it came from in An American Tale. And I'm sitting here thinking, they only use him being Jewish as a means to be bullied. They never really get into like how his faith impacted him growing up or as a filmmaker. The only time they get into faith other than to use it for him to be bullied by is to make jokes. And it just really was weird to me that it's like, okay, this is a guy, even at the beginning of the film, the kid said, well, I'm going to make a war movie like the war you fought in. And I'm like, okay, that's true, because Spielberg did want to do that. And he did with Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List.
Yep.
Like, he did want to honor those who fought. He wanted to honor the Jews' lives who were lost. And I'm like, this felt like something that a very secular person would make as like, oh, here's a movie about Jewish people, rather than someone who is deeply impacted by that faith.
The Jewish nature, other than just the authenticness at the beginning of them celebrating Hanukkah and getting gifts,
and that was good.
That was good.
Like
but
I said,
literally,
the first 30 minutes of the movie, I thought was well done all the way around.
Right, but other than that, it's glossed over immediately, and it just kind of becomes a punchline.
Well, it's not even so much as a faith as it is just
it's a culture.
Their culture. Yeah.
And here's how they treat it in the movie.
He acts like prayer is something new to him, and I'm like, Jewish people pray?
Yeah.
You know, they don't pray to Jesus, or they don't, you know.
Actually, I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. They do. And granted,
he acts like it was something that he's never done before, and I'm like,
they do. They treat it solely as the Jewish culture, and
not the faith.
Not the faith at all. And I mean, there is both. There is a culture and the faith, but they're together. They're one thing.
But to see again an semi-autobiographical pick about the very man who made Schindler's List, it's kind of a slap in the face to, again, I think the history that you cater to there, and again, the Jewish people, to then kind of make it seem like, well, yeah, I was just always this Jewish kid in America. I never really thought much about it. And of course, there was just the one throwaway line that he had to put in there just to be like, oh yeah, I'm on the right side. And he's like, I can't go back there. He voted for Barry Goldwater. Yeah. And I was like, oh, here we go. There's we got a Republican jab in there. I just think it's so funny because I'm like, it again, this is Spielberg to me, who has succumbed to the whims of, I think, what most directors and most content creators in Hollywood are doing these days, which is what sells to the elites, what sells to the Hollywood, press and to other Hollywoodites. And it's like, for me, this was not a true, real, raw biographical picture of his life and his upbringing as much as it was, okay, we're going to sprinkle a little bit of that in there and some memories for the sake of saying, yeah, this film is a deeply personal one to me. And I'm sure it is. I'm sure Spielberg definitely felt that way working on it. But it's just like when you compare it to the classics and the greats of Spielberg's early catalog, it just doesn't come close.
I think it clearly highlights the shift in mindset that a lot of directors and people in Hollywood have had over the years, because I really think that if Spielberg of the 80s or 90s had decided to make a movie about his family, it would have come out very differently. I think there would have been a bigger emotional impact. I think some of the moral themes would have been different. And I could be wrong. Maybe this really is who Spielberg really has been all along, but it's hard to think that coming from some of the movies from the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Well, and I think that's kind of the great thing that we're left with is at least we have those. You can't overwrite those. And again, even if you're an imitator,
just slap warnings on the front of them.
Yeah.
Like, these may contain offensive material.
But I mean, that's the thing. Anymore now, it's regardless of what the culture is today. If you're kind of seen as a deceiver in terms of I'm just going along to get along, going along with what's popular for the times, I think that does end up on the surface. I think people see through that, and they can kind of cater to. I mean, we ultimately have to decide. You're about to push a button, and I don't know what you're going to push.
Well, I mean, I wasn't. I was waiting for a point in which I would point at.
Yeah. See, it's like he's getting ready.
Stop it. I can't now because now I have nothing to respond to.
Well, I don't know what my point was going to be. I was getting ready for you to interrupt it.
No, I wasn't going to. I was waiting for you to make your point. No, I don't normally interrupt just like that.
But no,
it's silly.
I think people can see right through it. They can see the facade of what you're trying to be. And I think ultimately if you're not true to yourself, which I don't think, unfortunately, it's weird to say this about Spielberg in this film. I don't think he was. I don't think this is really a Spielberg-esque film. It has a lot of Spielberg elements. Again, the color grading, the cinematography is there from what I love of Spielberg films, especially in the early 2000s era. I mean, when you watch his other films that aren't great, but when you watch Catch Me If You Can, Minority Report, you see like the blinding lights in the background that have... it's not the J.J. Abrams with the light beam, but it's a very beautiful...
The lens flare.
Yeah, the lens flare. No lens flare. Everything. It's not that. It really is beautiful, and it's like it's wonderfully shot. Yeah. And again, there are certain, the set pieces and there are certain poignant moments that are very well done, but as a whole, it just really falls apart. I gave it 2 out of 4 stars.
I'd stick with my 2.5.
2.5.
Okay, yeah. And honestly, all of the elements about his amateur filmmaking I thought were spot on. Like they felt like Spielberg. Like you could tell, like I think those parts you could tell like his heart was in it because those are the scenes
no doubt
that did feel like Spielberg. But yeah, ultimately I think it will be nominated. I just don't think it's as good as critics and everyone's hyping it to be.
I think they should nominate the Ditch Day film because I thought his Ditch Day movie was better than this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Well, it was in the movie.
In the film.
Oh,
The Ditch Day.
yeah. No, actually, yeah, that was good. Actually, I told Brandon, there was, at the very beginning when he did the train thing and they had the multiple angles, I was like, he couldn't have done that with just one camera. And then the kid was like, I had to crash it more than once. It's like, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
That Ditch Day movie had the same problem and they didn't address it. And granted, it's a minor, this doesn't affect the movie, it's a minor nitpick.
He gets different angles.
But there's
of
scenes where the
same
guy's
scene.
running and it shows the side angle and then it shows the finish line. And it's like,
Yeah.
unless Sammy's faster than the jock's running and he got to the finish line to
Yeah.
set up the camera, that would have been impossible.
That's
and
true.
that kind of irked me. But again, that was just me being nitpicky. Like, it really isn't, like, most people aren't going to notice that. And I'm sure Spielberg even knew that because he addressed it in the first scene and didn't in the second. I think he just knew this is the climax, so we'll let it be.
So 2.5 out of 4 stars, our official review of the Fabelmans. Definitely not one of our main picks from last year.
Work.
Meet the Feebles.
Oh, it didn't work?
Meet the Feebles.
Yep, moving on. Ain't got no
I must not
gas
have
in
hit
it.
it hard enough the first time.
You got to hit it hard. All righty, guys. I think we're ready to move
I
into
think we are.
our headlines.
Bow.
Love it. Love it. Let's talk about it, guys. All right, we
got?
got a big story on the block. We didn't really lead off the show with this because it is kind of depressing news, but let's talk about
I
it.
wanted to get the Fabelmans out of the way, I think.
That's the depressing news.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Spielberg's career.
Yeah, I think for those who don't know, they'll probably do. Jeremy Renner had an accident with the snowplow where it had run over his leg.
Weather-related accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that was how it was worded in the
A lot of them, because
press.
most people didn't know. Yeah, there's like snowplow accident. I forget how they worded it, but it was weird.
Yeah, at first it literally said a weather-related accident.
It's
Like,
and
did
I'm
he get
like,
caught in a blizzard?
Yeah,
It's
what
like,
happened?
It is funny. Off topic slightly, Daily Wire actually said snow blower, and somebody in the comments said something, and then I noticed later they had edited the snow plow. I was like, that's bad.
Yeah.
That was
I
bad.
actually saw articles that said snowblower.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a plow, not a blower. Actually, I just sent it in the text. There was an update on what had actually happened.
Go ahead
so
and explain
apparently
that to
his
us, yeah.
his family member had gotten the car stuck. So he does have this huge cat plow that he drove down to get the car unstuck. Apparently, he does a lot.
This
for
thing
his
is like
community.
it's like a tank.
Yeah.
like it's big.
But apparently
Yeah.
he does a lot for his neighbors and community, and like him plowing the road is apparently not that unusual. But he took the plow to get the car out. He did get it unstuck, and then when he got out of the cat to check on the family member in the car, that's when it started rolling, and he tried to jump back in to stop it, and that's when it went over his leg and everything, which is crazy.
14,000 pounds.
Yeah, he's had 2 surgeries. They do say he's stable. He lost a lot of blood. Luckily, one of his neighbors was a doctor who was able to apply a tourniquet, and they had to airlift him out to the hospital. So he's in stable condition now.
But critical. They still say
yeah.
stable. What does that even
Critical
mean?
but stable.
but
Yeah.
critical. I immediately
He's
think
probably in the ICU.
Yeah.
I would assume. But
Okay.
and it also another article that I read said that even though he's had multiple surgeries, it's going to he's going to require more surgeries down the road.
I'm sure surgeries and
whatever it
physical
was, yeah.
therapy because I mean,
No doubt.
it was a 14,000-pound cat that rolled over his leg. You're not just getting
Nope.
up and
Well,
walking
he also had chest.
Yeah, some chest. I don't know. Like, it doesn't say how that was sustained. I'm assuming it didn't go over his chest too.
Yeah.
I'm
but
wondering.
I mean-
I'm wondering. If, I'm assuming. I'm not making any like. I don't know anything. Obviously,
Yeah,
I don't know but I'm assuming maybe it pulled him under, and if it pulled him,
Yeah.
he could have hit the ground so hard in his chest,
Yeah. True.
that it could have,
done damage
you
that
could
way.
have done damage that way. I mean, but obviously prayers to Jeremy Renner and his family. They've been, of course, just responding to the outpouring of love that
Yeah.
they've received all over Twitter, all over social
I
media.
think this story was a little bit more shocking to me just because you don't really hear a lot about Jeremy. Like, he stays out of the limelight and controversy. I had told Sean there was even one of the actors from Avengers had mentioned how he was kind of like Hawkeye in the sense that, like, when you get to the second Avengers movie and nobody knew he had a family, but he was very much a family man. Not that people didn't know he had a family, but that Jeremy Renner is
keeps
also
it close to the chest,
He's very
yeah.
much a family man who keeps their family life private, which I respect. So
I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody who is, I think you have to honor that, and respect that. I mean, it's like come on, for somebody who's on the silver screen and in big movies, I mean, who's playing Hawkeye in the Avengers, it's like you're talking about somebody who's got worldwide fame.
Yeah.
And yet just has a quiet life in Nevada. And it's like he just wants to maintain his life apart
those
from
are
the
the people
Hollywood.
I do. People like him, Chris Pratt
Craziness.
maintains a private life. Henry
got
Cavill's very
Said his
But
name.
up his
Henry
ledge.
Cavill's another one who keeps his life private, and I respect that. So
Well, especially when they're these people that you would almost undoubtedly look at and think, oh, they're gonna soak it up. They're gonna milk all this fame for their.
I
all
like
it's
people
worth.
like Chris Evans and Mark Ruffalo who never shut up. I'm like, we can stand to hear less from you all.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because, I mean, you think about the outpouring of love that he has received in the well wishes and thoughts and prayers, and it's like the fact of the matter is that when you relatively stay off, the tabloid front scene, front page, it's like think about how that outpouring is way more positive than negative because most people don't have anything negative to say about it.
If I had woken up and seen the link and it had said Alec Baldwin got ran over, I just would have been like, okay.
It would have been like, well,
Great
who's he?
start to a new year. That's terrible. But
Old Lang Syne. It's like, who was he trying to shoot? Who ran over him? But no, obviously, definitely horrific news.
Yes.
We hope nothing but the best comes for, medical treatment comes for Jeremy Renner and that he gets better. And obviously, yes, prayers to him and his family. And hopefully he bounces back. I'm sure he's got, a long road to recovery.
I know that this isn't movie related, but I was actually really impressed to see the outpouring of prayer that came from the incident with the Buffalo Bills recently. Too,
Oh, yeah.
With,
Yeah.
Did you guys watch that
with
game?
Hamlin. No, I did not.
I
But
watched my Packers win on
yeah.
Sunday. I'm just saying.
yeah,
One game away.
Yeah, we did.
Holla.
So
Okay.
it is nice to know that as sad as society's gotten, there are still people out there that do have some.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I was
not
impressed
all
that they, I
dark
was
and
impressed that
dank.
they stopped the game, like that they just stopped.
Oh, they've indefinitely postponed. I mean, they are
Yeah.
going to replay it.
No, I
but
understand.
mean,
I just
still,
think that's
yeah.
Yeah. Well, rightfully so. And I mean, I think you're right. It's sad.
We didn't stop the game when
Right.
Kevin Ware broke his leg. We just went and won a championship.
Well, he didn't die and get resuscitated.
They got
on the
revoked from a
field.
bunch of BS allegations. Screw the NCAA. Sorry, we still won in 2013. Anyways, old wound.
Obviously.
Y'all didn't win on New Year's Eve, though.
No, we didn't.
We ain't got to talk about that game.
Hey,
We were never expected to.
No. I was glad we got as far
I'm surprised we only got beat by 23. Or 21 or whatever it was.
hey, we lost the bowl the same day though, so and that one actually did shock. I mean, not that we lost, that we didn't put up any points. I was like, wow.
Yeah, shutout was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's
But no, ultimately, I think you're right, though. It's sad in this day and age where, when these horrific accidents happen, you really are like, okay, well, what is, because the show must go on.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
It's money.
when you're talking that kind of money, that kind of, status, in terms of how much attention it's drawing worldwide and getting ready for playoff season, it's like you have to. It's sad that you have to be surprised that they would stop. Of course, a bunch of people were throwing out allegations as to, it was how hard he was hit, or it was because he got the COVID vaccine. And look, there's tons of questions to be asked and answered. I think definitely those answers deserve to be taken into consideration and noted. I think people.
What do we got going?
I think my
he's got
iPad
some
has
audio going.
audio's up.
Oh, no.
But no,
Didn't know that. There we
I
go.
think that, while those questions definitely do deserve to be answered and we need those answered, there's a time and a place for that. And that's not now while the guy is in the
And
hospital.
it was mostly a
trying to
freak
hang
accident.
on
I
to
mean,
life.
the last time
Yeah.
something like this happened was over 30.
You said 71, didn't
I mean,
you?
70,
Yeah,
71,
40
so 40 years. So,
more than 40.
but yeah, I mean, I would say thoughts and prayers go out to Damar Hamlin as well, because I mean that is crazy. So, but back to movie news.
Yeah, back on to movie news. We got another one on the block we got to mention. Yes, it pains me to bring it up.
It's going to be just fine. It's
Here's
going to
the
be
thing.
just fine.
I'm still putting Avaturd on the lower third because it will forever be Avaturd.
Oh, yeah.
But Avaturd 2 crosses $1 billion, the fastest track to $1 billion last year in 14 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a huge success in terms of crossing the $1 billion mark. It is now $1.4 billion
I think
with worldwide and
Top Gun
domestic.
took 30 days to hit it.
Top Gun
Yeah,
took
more.
I think more.
Yeah, I thought it was
took
more than
Or was
30.
it 60? Was it 2 months? I know it was
I
either a
can't
month
remember.
or 2 months.
But I do know that even though Avatar did obviously cross that milestone, Top Gun Maverick still beat it out by the end of New Year's.
Yeah, it was the highest grossing movie of 2022.
It was still the highest grossing.
Now Avatar 2 has surpassed Top Gun now. It is sitting at 1.4 billion as well, which is what Top Gun's at.
Right.
But technically, Top Gun is the highest grossing film of 2022.
And we've seen nothing but in the press with it crossing $1 billion that obviously I think it's safe to say that Avatar is going to cross $2 billion.
Yeah, it's almost at $1.5 billion now.
It's been steadily growing every week.
And it's kind of funny that they predicted that in a way. They said they didn't think Avatar would be that good right out of the gate, but that it would build just like the last film did. But I don't know. I feel like the first film was pretty popular right out of the gate. I mean, it was word of mouth. A lot of people were like, I don't want to go see a movie.
Right.
I think the first one did build.
After the first weekend, it started going up.
I think the first one built faster, which I think we kind of expected, because I still don't think this is going to
do. It didn't.
Oh, it didn't build as fast as Avatar?
Objectively it didn't.
Yeah.
This one built faster.
Okay, wow.
This one crossed
because I still don't feel like this is
the
going.
original.
But you think
feel
that's because this movie's actually good?
Probably.
Well, but I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of that has to do with, I hate to say it, and I know it's such a short period of time, but after 10 years, inflation. Like,
that's true.
Well, it's not a huge feat anymore for the big blockbusters to just cross $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but $1.5 billion still an achievement. And I'm not saying this is a small feat.
Well, it's only at like the 13th highest grossing film of all time right now, sitting at 1.4. So
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's still plenty more, obviously, leg room to get back into the top spot, or even try to.
Do you think
trounce
it'll
Endgame.
make it up to Avatar? You think it'll be, if it's already out grossing the first one? Do you think it'll beat it?
Depends on how long it's in theaters. I mean,
they'll leave it as long as it's making money.
That's what I'm saying. How long of a run's it going to? Top Gun was in theaters for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah,
like it was.
And the thing is, I think this is going to be the same way.
Yep.
Because as long as the percentages, because even think about it, a big huge movie like a Marvel film comes out and it immediately drops like 20-30% the next week, but it stays in theaters for at least 2 months, 3 months. This one is growing.
Yeah.
And of course they're saying that, there was the winter, we had winter weather and storms and the holidays, but the thing is I don't care about the reasonings behind why they've only seen small incremental percentages. It's like, no, that's kind of like you said, what they predicted and what they were hoping for with a film like this. However, while I think it will cross the 2 billion mark, I don't think it will quite get to the same success as the first one. And I know that will depend heavily on the overseas market. It's already crossed $1 billion overseas. That's what I think is impressive.
Yeah.
Considering that, when it released, the day it launched, it actually suffered more overseas than it did domestically, but that's picked back up quite a bit, and that's where they've seen most of the gains.
And I was going to say, it does have that added benefit of being released in China. And yes, initially it didn't do as well in China as they were hoping, but a lot of that came from the lockdowns in China. So the fact that it even still has the added gross from China is going to benefit it in a way that movies like Top Gun didn't have, because it never released in China.
That's true too. Yeah. Very true. And I still think in terms of raw feeling, I'm obviously going to be partial to Top Gun Maverick over Avatar. I think Top Gun
is a better movie. Yeah,
I think so. But I will say, I think it's going to get to 2.1, 2.3 billion is where I'm going to end it. I think it's going to end kind of around that mark. I think you'll kind of see it slowly taper off. I think to beat Endgame and even get up to where the first Avatar was, it has to be like 2.7 billion. And I just don't. I don't see it having the strong force of getting another $1.5 billion.
Yeah,
I see it getting another $1 billion, and maybe going 2.4.
I can see it getting up to about 2.4, 2.5, but I don't know that it would go further than that either.
And that still lands it in what, the top 5?
Yeah, it's still going to be, if not the top. Yeah, it'll definitely be the top 5. I was going to look for.
That means James Cameron will literally have like three of the movies in the top 10.
Yeah,
it's like, that's insane. That's ridiculous. No man needs that much. His ego's already big enough. That's insane.
Big enough for 1, 2, 3, 5 more movies.
Yeah. What was it?
Or 6?
The hubris he even had, or I should say lack of hubris he had, was he was like, I'm going to see how well it goes.
The first Avatar, which of course because of all the re-releases, sits at 2.9 billion right now.
Well,
which is
yeah.
it's not going to do that. Endgame is 2.7, almost 2.8, and then you have Titanic, which is 2.2. So yeah, if it gets over,
Wait, is that number 3? Or is that just his movies you're talking about?
Those are the top 3. Avatar is 2.9.
So he just has to cross the 2.2 billion.
And he'll maybe have the top 3 highest, and 2 of them will be his. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think he'll get to Endgame's 2.7 either, but I do think he could end up very well having the top 3rd highest grossing film in Avatar 2.
Who knows? Maybe he'll release
Avatar,
it 5
Endgame,
more times
Avatar
in the
2.
next 2 years.
That's true.
He'll probably re-release it before the 3rd movie comes out. I mean,
Well,
why
and
not?
Isn't that supposed to, is that going to be next year?
No.
Yeah, to 2024.
Oh yeah, it is 2024. You're correct. Yes, next year, 2024. Yeah.
But no,
That's crazy.
I don't know.
They'll re-release Avatar 1 and 2 as like this back-to-back like you can do with the Marvel films. So then Avatar will finally breach 3 billion, and then this will get the second
I just
highest
want the
spot.
first movie in 4K. James Cameron, come on.
It's supposed to come out
I
when
want
this
it.
comes out in 4K.
I honestly do not understand
Why they didn't update Disney Plus to be 4K at the very least?
I think he's going to have to redo the CGI in the original.
They've already remastered it in 4K. That's what the last
Yeah, when
theatrical
they
release.
released it in the theater, it was remastered
Yeah,
in 4K.
they completely-
But you only see that in like 2K projectors.
Well, some theaters have 4K
well,
projectors.
yeah.
Some, but
if you're lucky enough to have a theater with that. But
I ultimately just don't think the first movie holds up well enough. This one does. This
one
one's
does.
fine. And granted, I know I'm saying that now, and in 10 years when there's new technology.
If you went back and re-rendered the CGI, I don't know. I do want to see it in 4K, and that's what the last re-release was for. Is it was their 4K remaster? But the thing is, they didn't release it in home media.
Yep, not yet.
And they are going to release a Blu-ray when supposedly around the time Avatar 2 comes out to 4K. But I'm just like, why not at least put it on Disney Plus? Like, I don't know. It aggravates me.
I know.
They won't because they want you to buy the Blu-ray
Exactly.
first. After the 4K Blu-ray comes out, then they'll put it on Disney Plus.
Well, just like they did with this
Disney,
movie.
bunch of
They pulled it off Disney
bastards.
Plus just so that they could put it back in theaters.
Yeah.
And Avatar: The Way of Water is going to be
Which,
the
I
same
mean,
way. They're
yeah.
going to put it back in theaters, and it may be, hell, after the 3rd one. I think they will. They'll probably do another run next year in the summer. Like, see it again before the 3rd.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
I could see them doing that and just pulling in another, half a billion, or trying to at least get that much.
Man.
It's just insane. But the overseas market proves to be the strongest for them. Obviously, that's where it is.
It's the anti-Star Wars because Star Wars is popular domestically, but not overseas.
Well, not anymore. Disney killed that too. All right, guys. I think we're ready to move on to our last headline, which, of course, we've already talked about it briefly. But I just want to rub it in a little bit more because we were talking about Avatar. But yeah, Maverick was 2022's highest grossing film. It's official now that we've crossed the new year. Very, very pleased and happy that is the case. I think it was the unsung, look, everybody thought it was going to be a blockbuster. It was piggybacking off the original. The original was a
Nobody
blockbuster.
knew it would be as big as it became.
Nobody knew that.
Yeah.
I think people thought, especially with it, it was delayed for over 2 years because of the pandemic, and the fact that they brought it out at the time they did, I don't think it could have been a bigger splash than to kick off, not only the summer blockbusters, which there were very rarely any throughout
Not
last
any
year.
good anyway.
Yeah.
No. And yet that one just stuck, and people wanted to see it. It did have a dose of American pride, and I think a lot of people just enjoyed it. It was just beautiful dogfight scenes, and just fantastic, story, fantastic movie. It's what blockbusters are meant to be when you go to the theater.
And it's another one I think will get the nomination. Whether they'll actually give it a win.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. Do you think it will get a nom?
Yeah, it's been pretty highly predicted to get it, so I think it will at this point. I don't know if it's one they'll actually seriously consider, though, which is a shame.
Here's
it really
my question.
So far, of the ones I've seen, it really is the best.
Do you think it would be nominated for Best Picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
You don't
think
think
so,
Tom
too.
Cruise will get a nomination for
No.
his performance in the movie?
I don't think so
No,
either.
he won't get an acting nom. He was good, but yeah, they'll go with they're going to because they only have the 5.
Kelly McGillis will.
Yeah. For being shot. For
Shot out of a cannon,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Cannon.
I'll tell you,
For
you haven't
that
seen that
cannon
movie,
shot.
you got to see it. Kelly McGillis getting shot out of a cannon.
best part of the whole movie.
It's insane. Never saw it coming.
I loved.
Neither did whoever got in. Whoever she landed on didn't see her coming either.
It's like James Cameron tried to copy that success and get her to be shot out of the whale thing's blowhole, but she wouldn't fit, so they had to scrap that idea.
They didn't even have blowholes, did they?
knows?
I don't know. That was like their. I don't know what those were. It was
Most
like their
intelligent
their
beings
soul hole.
on Pandora, though.
Yeah.
Their soul hole.
Their
That's what-
soul hole.
Their soul hole.
Oh my God!
That's how they
let me
communicate
meet
with
your
you.
soul hole.
That sounds like just a bad,
Yeah, did
dirty
they
movie.
Did they have something to connect with? Did the one boy
yeah,
connect?
when they went inside, that's how he came.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You had to go in the. You had to go inside.
He had to go
connect.
inside the thing
Oh,
to connect
that's-
to it.
that's
he went
right,
into its
yeah.
mouth. Yeah, they got real deep in this one.
Yeah.
He went
They went like
inside.
Jonah.
Oh, whew.
He got
Go
Jonah
in-
deep.
Go inside to know me. I see you.
He was like, "I'm in you."
Let me get inside of you.
That is weird. I completely forgot that.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that he connected to it on the inside.
I forgot that too. But here, well, we got to go see it again, guys. James Cameron says you forget.
I will.
On your second
I don't want to
viewing.
give it more
Yeah.
money, but I'd see it again.
It was definitely better than the first.
It
movie.
was.
It was.
It was way better than the first
I
movie.
actually enjoyed it. I mean, I have gripes about it, but I did think it was a good movie.
I'd rather this
another
one
one that I
be
think
on
will-
top than the first movie.
True, yeah.
I'd rather the first movie be at the bottom of the top.
I mean, it's
10.
another one that they're predicting will be nominated, and honestly, I think it deserves it more than the first one did. So
Here's my question though. On that topic of if Maverick gets nominated, would it be your best picture pick?
out of the ones that I'm hearing of and I've seen, yes,
Yeah.
so far.
Wow.
But I
Okay.
mean, that's the thing. I haven't
There's
seen
not a lot.
It was my favorite movie
Yeah.
of 2022.
It
I'll
was?
say that.
I know
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of people are touting everything everywhere all at once, which is good, but I do like Top Gun better. I do like it better than the Fabelmans. I haven't seen Banshees yet. That's one that's being touted to
Yeah.
possibly get
Got a
nominated.
screener of that.
Yeah, I do want to watch it. So
You
it'll
need
be
to watch that
interesting. We'll see. We'll see.
I still am looking forward to seeing everything everywhere all at once.
I haven't
Yeah.
watched it yet, but actually White Noise has gotten a few, but not many predictions.
have.
So
And you liked it.
I
Noah
did like
Baumbach.
it. I did like it.
Yeah. I mean, I liked
It's really
Marriage
funny
Story.
because we sat there and talked about the Fabelmans and how that movie just did not nail the whole aspect of how families can be messy and there's
Yeah.
all these different things. Watch White Noise.
Yeah.
And
Well, okay, his
we'll
previous
see how
movie,
it's done.
Marriage Story, that was a
that-
much
yes.
better film about the end of a marriage and divorce than
and
this
sad
was.
and
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And here's the
I
thing.
thought he nailed it.
Again,
yeah.
this is what I told my parents when I originally watched Breaking Bad, and I tried to get them to watch it because they were like, "Oh, I'm not watching that smut and blah
Yeah,
blah blah." You know, normal
but
guy.
it does not.
It doesn't glorify
Yeah.
it. And here's the thing. And you may say, well, why do you have to get into the moral, gratuity of it? And I'm like, because at the end of the day, you do have to. You're making a film for society to consume, and when you watch it, you're going to be left with a certain kind of message, and anything gratifying a certain kind of message, in terms of not talking down to it, is in essence by submission a gratification of it, or at least honoring it and rewarding it. And so I feel like when you have a movie that has a terrible circumstance, again, that's the thing about Marriage Story. You can walk out of that film watching it and thinking, okay, it's just that's what a crappy divorce looks like. It's god awful, and it shows you the messy nature of what can go on and how ugly a divorce can be.
Yeah.
And I when you watch it, it just seems so authentic and real. You can tell that there was great care and devotion into the writing and the script. The real raw anger that you see
the
between
performances from Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson are great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to White Noise, and it may go under the radar. It may go unnoticed.
It might.
I know The Well we've talked about several times, and
Yes.
That
Brendan
one-
Fraser.
That one has
know.
actually dropped off of all of the prediction lists almost. So I was
Really?
actually surprised. That and granted,
Well, for Best Picture.
yeah, Best Picture.
Okay.
Brendan Fraser is still being touted for a Best Actor nom, and I think that probably will happen. That and The Woman King both have kind of dropped off a lot of.
I know.
I'm thankful for
The
the.
King got sold into slavery.
Gosh, I hope
that movie
Here's
is
the
done.
thing.
That
These
movie's
are again
over.
all just predictions.
No, the slaves got it and said we don't want that.
That get, These are all just predictions, and mostly I go off
trigger.
of Gold Derby, which is usually pretty accurate. But the thing is, you never know with the Academy. They could still nominate the Woman King because of agenda, obviously.
Yeah.
But we really won't know till January 24th, I think we looked up, is when they announced the nominees. So
We'll talk about them here on the show.
We will.
interesting.
Alrighty, guys, I think we're ready to move into our unique weekly segment. That's right, it's relationships.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Aww.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was on there.
There's so many good ones, I'm telling you. All right, guys, this one is, I don't know if y'all saw the top.
I saw it.
Edie is going to town on her foot down here.
No.
Y'all can't see it.
Maybe it
She's-
itches.
Like eating her foot?
She is eating it.
My dog does that sometimes.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
don't know why they do that.
Icebreaker. Even though the lower third's already up. I told y'all this story just before the show started, but I'm
did.
letting our viewers know.
Let's tell
I
them.
made a homemade crunch wrap on Sunday. Was very happy, very pleased. Got it out of the pan, hot, crispy, ready to go, ready to be eaten.
Crunchy.
Good and ready to just chow down. And I look over at Edie putting it on my plate, and Edie just pukes on the carpet. And I'm
Serious,
just
Clark?
I wish you at that. I mean, we don't need it all the time. But at that moment, it would have been good. It's like,
good.
he's probably just hacking on
Hacking
the
on
bone.
the bone.
hacking on the bone. Like,
He'll get it up.
and it's like, oh, he got it up.
Yeah.
But no, that just,
She just wanted to ruin your dinner.
she did, and she almost did. I cleaned it up right then and there. I didn't want to look at it while I was eating and let it soak into the carpet.
You ate, though, didn't you?
No, I cleaned it up.
No,
And
you
then-
didn't eat at all? You
No,
didn't eat that
I
crunch
did.
wrap?
I did.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just washed my hands thoroughly, and then
Yeah.
I went to town on it.
just
And then
not
I
even
looked at
wash your
her
hands.
while she's staring at me, wanting some of it, and she's just like, and I'm like, you just puked out of that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like, no.
You ain't getting it.
You didn't
See,
get it.
I'm not a squeamish person either. It's like I don't care. I'm gonna eat.
I would have ate it with my left hand while I wiped the puke with my right.
And then I go to like wipe my mouth, and I'm just like,
Oh, wrong napkin.
Got a little extra.
It's like- it's not bad.
So,
It's good queso. It's good kibble.
do you intentionally schedule time for others?
I intentionally
Do ya?
scheduled
That's a good
time
question.
for Tuesday night.
That's true.
That's
There-
definite.
there are-
yeah, true.
There are a few instances, specific instances for specific people, but generally no.
Wow.
You all are a specific instant on Tuesdays because I love you and I love the show.
So you don't go out of your way to try to make sure that you spend time with certain people.
My whole life.
This could be
is a
family.
schedule.
This could be friends.
Oh no, I was just
anybody.
saying. I said in general, no. I mean, I said specific people, yes. So you know.
Can you
So,
name drop some of those?
Yeah, you too, and my family.
All right.
There's-
You too. They suck.
You too. No,
Bono. Come on.
No, I mean, I do kind of try to schedule. It kind of depends because I mean, I know there's plenty of times when like Nathan, I feel really bad about because he's messaged me several times throughout the year and we still haven't been able to like
Calling it out on the show.
well,
Dang.
I'm blaming me because I'm the one that's he's like, hey, you want to do something? I was like, yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I can't. I mean, there's a few times where he's had family instances where he couldn't either.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely want to get together with Nathan at some point.
It gets hard.
it
I mean, you
does.
get older. You have family.
You know,
you
I
have-
try to save time aside for Neil, but then he never shows up because he's too busy in Boston. So.
Maybe he's not scheduling time for you.
Oh.
Oh
I don't
no,
know.
That was it.
that was it.
That was
But
hard.
yeah, I know. I mean,
It's a hard thing to come to. Hard feelings.
when I know I haven't seen someone in a long time, I do try to make that effort to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to put
Yeah.
some time aside. Especially like, okay, for an instance like Neil, when I know he's coming into town, even if it's really busy, it's like, okay, he's only going to be here. You know, he only comes every so often, so it's like I do try to figure out a day that we can hang out or whatever because obviously he's only going to be in for the few days and then
And
come
while,
back.
while I would agree with that, but is it equally, and I think you already kind of said this in your statement, but is it equally, I don't know what the right word is, troublesome that you don't create time for the people that you could see all the time because who knows when our last day may be?
Dang.
I'm just
You had to
I mean,
bring it.
I
just
see.
had
No,
to
no,
bring
I
it
get,
there.
I get your.
Jeez.
I get your point.
You know what I mean? You think the convenience of being close to someone
No, exactly.
allows you to
that's
the
more or less
luxury
just
of
like,
saying, "Oh, I'm not going to set aside time for you." But then that's also the double-edged sword
Yeah,
of
that
like,
brings
oh,
me back to Nathan because that's someone who lives right around the corner from me. So I think, I can see him
Anytime.
He's like lives 5 minutes behind my house, and now it's been almost a whole year, and I'm like, well, crap. Here it is, where I'm just like, you kind of do. You take it for granted that they live right there. They're nearby. You'll see them whenever. And I can say the same. Even I do talk to my parents on a pretty much daily basis. But I mean, there are times when it's like, I didn't go see them this weekend because you figure they're there, but then you realize it's like they won't, like you said, they won't always be there. So
damn, that one hits right there when you
So,
bring it up. That
you
I
do.
agree
You
with
got
that.
to try to make some
It's
time.
like when my mom at point blank asked me
Sean
to come
made
over
time for his mom
sometimes.
this week.
Yeah,
I did.
Going down to Alabama.
Yep.
Is that Alabama?
Yep. Alabama.
Montgomery,
Sweet home,
Alabama. I know they're not
Mobile.
Montgomery.
I need that one on the soundboard.
Yeah.
Greenbow, Alabama. But no, Sean, you go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's also important to make sure that whatever time you do get to spend, that you make sure that it's meaningful. If you're taking it to that level, like this may be the last time that you
man.
do see somebody, make sure that that time that you do see them, it's good enough to be your last time.
Damn. That's even harder.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, well, that was actually going to be a question to piggyback off of that initial question, which is sometimes you think maybe the striving to make it seem so important to get together and spend time, to make a big to-do about it, to, we're going to order, treats or snacks or, food, and we're going to eat and we're going to spend all night together and
I don't think
chit-chat.
it has to be that to be special.
Well,
It could just
no.
be-
A phone
I
call or a text message.
I agree, but do you think that sometimes that kind of cloud of judgment of like making it up into a bigger like to do than just why don't we just get together and chit chat?
No, I think
You know?
I think sometimes, when you try to overplan things and you have this perfect idea in your mind of how you want things to go, sometimes that does interfere with you actually enjoying the time with people because you're more concerned about, because I mean, I know I've been there and it's something I've learned to let go of more and just kind of go with the flow, because when you're so concerned constantly with, okay, well, we got to get this in and we got to do this and then we got to go there, sometimes you're too busy worrying about everything that you don't actually get to enjoy the moment with the person you're with. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, I don't know. I try as hard as I can. I think I have waves of times where I get caught in the motion of, my normal daily habits of whether it is work or just the, the weekly grind, and even doing stuff for the show or looking ahead to do different projects that I definitely want. Actually, funny enough, I reached out to Logan on his birthday and on Christmas back in December, and wished him a Merry Christmas, and he even texted back and he was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing like a get together for everybody in March," and I was like, "Man, that sounds awesome!" Like because for so long we've done Happy Birthday and Merry Christmas texts, but we haven't had time to. It's not that I don't think are both not willing to sacrifice time. It's trying to find the time and it's trying to carve out the time. It's like this is
he
a
has
dedicated
family too, so
Yeah,
it is
no,
harder when
absolutely.
you have a family.
And I think that becomes the issue as you get older and you have other commitments and responsibilities, is you do try to figure out, okay, well, who are the people in my life that I want to make sure not only know they're important, but I care to keep in my life. Because there's no doubt, I mean, we've talked about it on relationship segments in the past about there being a season for certain kinds of people, and sometimes those seasons kind of come and go. But when you do rekindle, I think, a
You all
friendship,
are more than just a season.
well, we're necessary. Because
I
we
didn't say
have to
that.
meet up every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to.
We all took the knife, we all cut our hands, and we all stuck it in a blood
I didn't do
tribal
that.
council.
I didn't do
pact.
that.
You did.
No.
You were asleep.
Me and I don't like the blood thing. I'd rather do the branding.
Oh,
we
you-
got branded together.
we're-
we were
There we go.
branded.
Yellowstone.
Blood branded.
But no, but we talk about that in terms of there being a season for, I think, friends and
season
relationships alike.
Turn.
Mamas and the papas over there.
Time to love.
Wait, that ain't the mamas.
time
Is that
to
Aquarius? No, it is mamas
That's
and
the
the
mamas
papas.
and the papas.
It is. But no, I don't know. I think I try to make it a point, just like New Year's resolutions, of like making yourself better. It's like I try to jot down a list of people that I know I haven't reached out to. And there's some that are acquaintances of just like, okay, I don't need to get lunch with them, or I don't need to, actually spend time with them. But even just sending them a well wishes text or hey, I've been thinking about you. Just hope you're doing okay. It's just sometimes then they extrapolate that out to like, okay, let's get together. And I'm like, okay, I would love to, but now the hard part is I can't. I can't find the time.
It's like you're just a Merry Christmas friend, not actually I want to.
Yeah.
Well, this is not serious.
And here's the thing. That is true. And I don't take fault in if people were to straight up tell me that and like, hey, no offense, we're not going to hang out, but I'll send you a Merry Christmas. I'm like, that's fine. Yeah. That's cool.
No, I have a friend that's a very old guy, and I met him taking photos at Bernheim, and we just kind of hit it off. And I mean, like, but I haven't called him yet for Christmas or New Year's. But I know that when I do,
it's gonna be like, let's get together.
It's going to be like, Sean, how you doing? Can you come work on my computer and let's look at some pictures? And it's going to be this whole day thing that I don't have time for. And I hate to be that way because that's one of those instances where when he calls or when I see his number pop up on my phone, I'm like, something happened to Charlie. His wife's calling me. It's he's at that age that it's kind of like, wow.
And he's just looking for companionship.
I know, and it's just one of those things. I tried to schedule time. I know, but the time that I did, dang it, Keith,
guilt tripping.
The time I did spend with him last,
call Charlie right now.
Good enough.
It was
call him on the podcast.
Good enough.
It's good enough.
We need to call right now. We need to spend time with him. We'd be on the show. But no, I do get that, and I completely understand. It's like there's friends that have just very close to that I haven't talked to in a while, and it's not that I wanted it to end up that way or wanted them to fall off the earth, but you get busy with other things and things take priority, and you have to shift your priorities around and focus on what is most important to you.
Yep.
And I would never blame anybody else. I mean, look, me saying that is admitting to I would never put the onus on somebody else for taking the responsibility of not reaching out to me.
Yeah.
Like I completely understand there being certain people who may say, you're a great friend, but I'm not going to reach out to you. And that's fine. Because I do feel like the ones that I really want in my life, I'm going to make sure I'm making that amends. And making that.
Telling anybody who may watch this that if you don't reach out to them, that's not someone you're really interested in keeping in your life.
No. It's obviously like, oh, hey, you've gone, you're one circle removed from the inner circle. You've now become an acquaintance.
Yeah.
And such is life. That's how it is.
It's like,
that's just the way it be.
You see this fucker? This is a circle of trust.
Are you in the circle?
Are you in the circle?
Are you out of it?
The good one before they made bad sequels.
You can milk a cat.
You just, grab the teats.
You can milk anything with teats.
Yeah.
Well, I have teats. Can you milk me?
Can you milk me, Greg?
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
That was. The first one was great.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That was a good show.
It was.
It was a very good
All good things must come to an end.
Yeah.
Though.
All good things.
Well, hopefully people out there will, email us and tell us their thoughts on their relationships.
Yeah.
And are there people out there that you just wish you reached out to? It's the new year.
Yeah.
Do you wish we would reach out to you? Want to spend time with us?
I don't really want to reach out to any of our viewers. Please.
He's like moving that cord. He's like, please, you want to spend some time with us?
Please spend time with us.
Please.
You want to see my basement?
God.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Right there at the bottom of your screen is all of our social media. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Twit.
Red Moon Twit.
Whoa.
Red Moon Twitch is what he meant.
Yeah, Twit.
We're on Twitch.
We're on Twitch.
That's right. Red Moon Tweet. Red Moon Pics for Instagram. And, of course, search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate it. And, of course, as always, that old, outdated style of contact, RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. It's a new year, Keith. You going to say it?
You just did.
Use your New Year's voice.
Yeah.
What's my New Year's voice?
It's your 2023 sexy voice.
Oh, man. I don't know.
You got to drop an octave deeper.
I don't know if I can change it. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's even more beautiful.
Was just scruffy and manly.
Gosh, sakes. Can't get over it. So beautiful. Alrighty, that's going to do it. Next week, hopefully it'll either be Babylon or Megan. So go see one of those. Not Megan up in Boston.
Megan.
Spells her name different.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
True.
And hopefully she's not an animatronic robot that wants to kill Neil. That'd be
That
terrible.
looks like a little girl.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, Neil. What's up with that?
I know, but I want to go see that movie now.
Well,
You just talked me into it.
Because she looks like a little girl?
Yeah. Animatronic little girl.
maybe that'll be on our other relationship segment. Alrighty. The Epstein Files. All right, coming up next time on the Red Moon Podcast.
The Epstein, Weinstein. It's one of them Steens.
Yep. Yep. They're all in the same group of thugs.
They're all Steen.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and he's coughing over there.
Help it. I'm dead.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.